this morning, our focus is revival of public school infrastructure in Lagos. And my guest, like I said, has been seated for quite a while now. He's a man who is very, very much keen on public institutions, and he has a kind of plan in terms of education in Lagos. All right, then. So joining me right now to dwell on this, Hakeem Smith. He's a chairman, Special Committee on Rehabilitation of Public Schools in Lagos. Nice to have you in the building. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
You're welcome to Traffic Radio.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's your very first time of being here, I do suspect.
Yes.
Okay, so do you listen to us?
I do very much well, particularly more so before we had these opportunity to check the traffic situation on Google. We all had to stay glued to our Traffic Radio to ensure that we know what's happening on our roads before you set out on any journey. Right. So we used to. So, but again, sincerely, the Google opportunity has reduced the frequency of tuning into you. But at least we still have to.
All right. And what do you make of Lagos Traffic Radio, by the way?
Well. I mean, really have to commend the initiative, because I feel that it's quite it's needed, and it's something that I think something good that happened to radio.
Right.
Because I could remember a couple of years before we all had this opportunity of Googling, like I said, it was something that your station must be there, particularly if you have to travel all through Lagos, you must just listen to Traffic Radio.
Right.
So ever since then, I've been glued to it, and it's always one of the dials on my radio if I'm in the car.
All right.
Always. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. And let's start from there. At that point, then, you are chairman of the Special Committee on Rehabilitation of Public Schools. So, why do you think this committee was set up by Mr. Governor?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's something that's quite needed, and it was a good initiative. And I must let you know that the SCRPS, as it's called, the acronyms, Special Committee on Rehabilitation of Public Schools, had always existed before now. Okay. It's not new. It was just relaunched, so to say. The days of the former governor of Lagos State, Mr. Tinubu, it's existed, and even during the days of Governor Fashola too, it was also it was on. But it was the last administration that actually scrapped SCRPS for whatever reason. So, and unfortunately, one thing about infrastructure is that if you leave it for 1 year, the decay could take you 10 years to put back. So I think knowing that, and if you have an interest in management and facilities, ensuring that your facilities are up to date, you will know that the only thing you need to do was to bring it back, to revamp the facilities in schools, so that you can get a good infrastructure and a good environment for students to learn. Because schooling, as good as it might seem, good teachers, books, and good students, you need an environment to put the students so that they can at least have a good environment to school. So bringing back SCRPS, I think, is something that I feel is very, very good. It's in the
and it's needed.
Highly needed. If you know what's happening now, you know that
it is very much.
It's very, very much.
So let's talk about your vision as chairman for the committee. What's your vision for this particular assignment?
Well, like I said, it's very, very, it's most needed at this time. However, we were inaugurated about next month will be a year old of the inauguration of SCRPS. So when we were inaugurated, we have a time of reference that we're working with. We had to ensure that we do and assess the schools and ensure that go around, see the state of the schools, plan to rehabilitate the schools, provide classrooms for schools that had deficient classrooms, because when you look at the student classroom ratio, it's quite high, and it's not something I can mention on radio. So you needed to have some more classrooms given to some schools, and again, you have to provide furniture for the schools, and so these are some of the terms of reference that we had. So we have to engage with after doing the needs assessment, engage contractors to fix the schools, and we work in conjunction with some other agencies to ensure that we do the needful, and those are basically our terms of reference, and we report to Mr. Governor from time to time on those things.
But you are going to be driving that vision.
Yeah, which we are doing.
Right. So are there specifics that you are laying down apart from this?
So basically, we have a board SCRPS. We have a board that we have some technocrats also in. I'm the chairman of the board. We have some technocrats. We have engineers in the board. We have architects in the board. We have lawyer. At least then we have a board secretary.
Okay.
So these are people that
you guys will be working together.
We're working together.
All right.
So essentially, the vision is to ensure that some of the things that we've been told to do, we ensure we do it. So what we do have strategy session. Our strategy is to see how to go about the objective that we'll be given to do, and how do we go about it. We ensure that we do it when we inaugurated. Let me just give you a bit of a background. We had to do a total visit. We visited over 60 to 100 schools just to do an assessment of what's on ground.
And that's why I want to come in at this point as well, because my next question is about the assessment of this public school infrastructure that we have in Lagos. How would you describe it as it stands today?
Well, if I'm to use a fair word, it's quite disheartening. Really, they're really in a bad state. I must tell you, some schools you get to, you almost feel like weeping.
Wow.
You see students taking classes under the palm trees, sitting on bare floor.
Does that exist in Lagos?
Sadly, it does in some areas.
I thought.
Sadly, it does. You know, when you say Lagos, you are talking about metropolitan Lagos. You might be looking at Maryland, Ikeja, Yaba.
But where are you talking about now?
When you go, but even when you go further out, Lagos is big. Even though the land size is small, but you can. If you look at the population of Lagos, it's quite huge, and definitely for you to take care of that population's need in terms of education, it's quite
a massive one.
Apparently, let me just amaze you that in Lagos we have over about 1,160 something primary schools, and we have about 700 secondary schools. So you're talking about a school, public schools, secondary and primary put together is about 1,700, 1,800.
Right.
Public school. So it's huge. So when you're talking about, there's some people areas like Ilado, which are Riverdan area, Satellite, Epe, Badagry, some schools that you have to go in there, you have to go with boats in Badagry, even in Epe.
Right.
Some areas like that. If you go to Imota, I'm telling you, you go to Imota, you go to Luasha, so many areas.
So you went to inspect all those schools?
Yeah, you have to. Even we have our safety jackets, safety jackets. And when you're going on boats, you have to be properly kitted.
That's right.
So you go around all of these things, and what you see, you just feel sad. You'll be humbled by some of the things that you see. I must tell you, and I feel that bringing back SCRPS now is the best that can happen. And we are a disruption in the Ministry of Education, apparently, because the SCRPS is within the education family.
Okay.
So what we do is that we are taking care of the physical infrastructure of the education sector. What I mean by that is that, education has a lot of other agencies under it. They take care of curriculums, textbooks, teacher training, and so on and so forth. However, we take care of the physical infrastructure. That means the buildings, the furniture of schools, the environment. Because you see, you need a proper environment to study well. An environment must be conducive for you to. I mean, we are sitting here now, we are comfortable. If we are not comfortable, we won't be able to do what we are doing here.
That's right.
Physical environment.
So it's a huge task.
It is, apparently. It is.
Let's locate your committee. Let's locate SCRPS within the themes agenda of Mr. Governor. Where can we locate it?
I just said now, it's under education.
Education.
Look at the third, in the hierarchy of the way the teams is spelled. It's based on the hierarchy of the team's agenda. The way I've seen it is number 3. We have traffic management and road rehabilitation, which you talked about lately. We have health, we have education. I mean, these are the first 3 stars of any government that if you're able to tackle this very, very well, I'm sure that you won't get it wrong. Because education is very, very key, and I'm happy that this government has taken it very, very seriously, setting up SCRPS and also ensuring that we are supported in whatever we want it. I must confess.
Which is very, very good. All right, so you guys assumed, or that committee was inaugurated November last year.
Yes.
So this is 11 months and counting. So what have you guys, what have you done in the past 11 months?
Yeah, thank you very much. Lagos is huge. We have processes in Lagos State. Lagos is the one state in Nigeria that they don't joke with processes. We have the PPA, Public Procurement Agency. So whatever we do in Lagos, we follow due process. We follow the international best practice in doing things and achieving our objective, irrespective of the fact that we want to run. While running, you must make sure I do things properly. So how have we done it? We've gone around to do some needs assessments. Now, pre-SCRPS, there were some projects that we inherited from Ministry of Education. These are projects that they wanted to do in the year 2019-2020, which we've inherited, and those projects are the ones we actually run. However, despite inheriting those projects, we went around those locations to ensure that those are still what they need. And what do I mean by that? Currently we are building some new classroom blocks. We are building one or two new schools, and we are doing several rehabilitation works.
New classroom blocks. Let's talk about those ones. Where are you guys building these ones?
Well, the new classroom blocks, we have about 15 going all around Lagos now. We have because basically what we've done is to ensure that we spread the goodies around. We are not limiting it to the central Lagos that you perhaps know about.
All right.
We ensure that Lagos is divided into 6 educational districts, and we ensure that we're touching all the districts one by one. Whatever we do, we ensure that it's spread all over. So, for instance, I told you that we started with 14. Those 14, we ensure that we have about, each district has 2. That makes 12. Then we had the biggest local government, which is Lagos West, where you have Alimosho and the rest, having an extra one. And we are building a new school, which is at Elemoro, that's in the Leke-Epe corridor. Because we got there and we found out that there was land that had been given to us by the king there. And apparently we got that they had the primary school that are supposed to feed the secondary school. They had about 11-12 primary schools to feed, and apparently they didn't have any secondary school. So we had to put a new classroom, a new school there, which was approved by Mr. Governor. Because they were given the land, and Mr. Governor graciously granted us approval to go and build a new school. So what we are doing there is building 18 classroom school with admin block. So we have the principal's office, we have the vice principal's office, we have the teacher's room, we have 18 classrooms. That is to take care of the junior primary school for that in that area. And hopefully by next year we'll be doing the senior secondary.
I was just about to come there now because I needed that clarification. If it's just public primary schools or it's both primary and secondary schools?
No. We primarily we are dealing with secondary schools. And why? Because we have an agency also that is in the education sector family, the SUBED.
That takes care of the primary school.
And they be funded by the federal and state.
But
apparently, we went into state primary schools recently because when Lagos State was about to do this, what we call Eco-Excel program. The Eco-Excel program was to ensure that all schools in Lagos State have equal curriculum. So they took some teachers for training, and after training, they now ensured that in fact the passing out was done in these premises here. That was sometimes early this year, where they passed about 2,000 or so teachers, and they're doing more. The Eco-Excel program is to ensure that there's balanced curriculum. So what we did then, when we knew that that's happening, we decided with about 300 schools, and I'm sure the next phase is going to be 500 schools. So what we did was, these primary schools are there. They've trained the teachers now how to make sure that they impact knowledge on the balanced curriculum. So what that means is that when you are in a Ikoyi school, when in a primary school in Ikoyi, Ireti primary school, for instance, or in the primary schools, and you are in Mushin primary school, you are being taught the same thing, because the teachers are also given tablets. So they have the syllabuses are in the tablets, so we are not treating students differently. So with that, we now said, these primary schools that we are going to be deploying these equipment, it's better for us to ensure that the environment that they are going to be teaching is quite conducive. So we went straight on to develop, to ask Mr. Governor to give us opportunity to rehabilitate the primary schools that are going to be given the opportunity. So that was how we actually went into primary schools, and we've been there ever since then.
Oh, wonderful. All right, so is there any criteria that you use to pick the schools?
Yeah, essentially, like I mentioned to you that we ensure that there is a spread. That's one. But however, we have a needs assessment. So what we've done is that we go around those districts to ensure that we pick schools that are in need of such facilities. However, when the old tutor generals and the principals, they are quite aware that SCRPS is now alive, that they are back on. So what they've done is that we've asked all of them to send to us their requirements. So I tell you, almost every day we get requests for maybe rehabilitation of their classrooms, or furniture for them, or one thing or the other, maybe the broken fence, a damaged roof. We get all of that. So what we do is, when we get all of these requests, we put them down. We now visit those locations to ensure that we see truly for an assessment of what is happening, do schedule of dilapidation and come up with a bill of rectification of such a facility, then we now go on to the process of procurement, because procurement has
it's pretty essential in all of this.
So that you ensure,
because I just wanted to be very, very sure that we are not going to be doing 2 schools or 3 schools in Ikeja, 2 in Maryland or somewhere, and then you forget schools in Ikorodu, or you forget schools in Badagry.
No.
So you're saying that you have...
ensure the spread.
Okay, the spread is there. All right, let's talk about classrooms and, of course, the provision of science and introductory technology laboratories. Have you guys also embarked on that as well?
Yeah. Recently, what we've been working on wasn't contrived. It just happened. The majority of the new classroom blocks we are building, they are junior secondary schools, and they need this intro-tech classrooms. It's not really a science lab like physics, chemistry, biology.
Okay.
But definitely, what we can only give them is to give them furnitures. Even for the senior schools that we are going to be building very, very soon, we're going to be giving them furniture, laboratory furnitures. The way they are structured is different from the way the classroom furnitures are structured. So for the equipment, for instance, the test tubes, the Reka cans, the skeleton, and all of these things, we have a Ministry of Science and Tech that takes care of that. So anything that has to do with science and technology requirement for schools, those most.
Right, that's Ministry of Science and Tech.
Exactly,
they take charge of that. All right, then Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, revival of public school infrastructure in Lagos is our focus. And my guest this morning, Hakeem Smith, is Chairman Special Committee on Rehabilitation of Public Schools. He's guesting and taking us to the classroom. Very, very shortly, I also allow you to join the conversation. But do not forget, we've been talking about this. If you are within the Lekki-Ajah corridor, NSAS protesters, they've blocked both sides of the toll gate at Lekki, so it's pretty slow within that corridor as well. And if you are also navigating through the Iju-Shaga-Ajunwa corridor, I understand at Ajunwa Road, there is a container loading truck which broke down their head, rolled back from the Greenland at Iju-Ajunwa Road, blocking the entire road. And motorists coming in and going towards Ajunwa cannot have access to Elliot as we speak. All right, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway also very slow. The last feed we got from our roving reporter still says the Magburu corridor pretty slow inwards Lagos. So if you're navigating through that end, it's a slow one indeed. Ikorodu Road is good from the inner part of Ikorodu, but approaching mile 12, it slows down and it remains steady all through Kushofe down to K2, Iwot, Ojota. Beyond Ojota to Maryland, it gets better. But of course, we'll let you into some more fees. Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, very, very busy too. From the Goyi end, connecting Dr. Mondani, the bridge, proceeding to Cement, and of course down to National. All that end, slow and steady movement being experienced as we speak. All right then, so Mr. Smith, how do you ensure that your contractors are not using substandard materials for this rehabilitation and, of course, the building of these new blocks in schools?
Oh, thank you. Like I told you, we are very, very particular about ensuring that we follow the standards, international best practice in doing whatever we are doing, right from the issue of procurement. And when you procure properly, you are most likely going to get the best guys doing the work. What I mean by that is procurement will have taken care of ensuring that the capacity and the competence of the contractor that are assessed pre-award. Okay. So then, aside from the commercial part of the project, that's in the cost of the project, you ensure that the best guys are on the job. And what does that mean is to ensure that, well, the contractor has the capacity and the competencies. So they submit, there's a pre-qualification that is done to ensure that they have all the various prerequisites to do that kind of job, which we ensure. Having done that, when they now move to site, we also ensure proper monitoring of the project. Like I told you, the board has well qualified professionals in his team. Okay. So aside from that, we have staff deployed from the Ministry of Works, the main ministry. We have all the engineers are working with us. So we ensure that we have a process that we follow.
So there's a way you're able to monitor them as well.
We even have a kind of a standard checklist that we have that we've shared with the contractors that are working with us to ensure that these are the things to follow when we are doing our project. And in terms of the material, before you incorporate any material into the work, we ensure that it's visited We do the basic test, basically in construction business, particularly when you're talking about new projects, you have various type of tests. You have the cube test, the enforcement test, even the sand test, ensuring that we use proper water. And to the best of our ability, we ensure that we follow up these things. We have to close mark the process to ensure that they deploy proper materials into the work.
I love the way I mentioned this test. It's very obvious that you do some of this monitoring yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's see if we can allow some people to also join the conversation this morning. I'm speaking with the chairman of the Special Committee on Rehabilitation of Public Schools. Hakeem Smith is our guest, and we're looking at revival of public school infrastructure in Lagos. So if you want to also have your say on the program right now, or perhaps ask you one or two questions, feel free to join us on 0809 912 0777. Okay, that's 0809 912 0777 is the numbers that you can connect with us on the program this morning to have your say. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lekon. Welcome.
All right, Lekon, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Mushin, but I want to speak precisely about Adebule Primary School.
Okay.
In Nigeria, my gentleman then, I greet you, sir. I want to strengthen you guys.
Amen.
Please,
Thank you.
I just want you to come to the head of Adebule Selodu local government. There are a lot of structural deficits in terms of classroom accommodation and availability for students. I heard you said you were intervening in some primary schools. Just let me mention just one. Adebule Primary School, Ojo Road, to precise. This school happens to be a school that the people were relocated to another school so that they can give them a new structure. For so many years, and it's a Millennium Development Goal project. If you could just come to the head of that school, help them to complete that so that the people can return back to their original building.
Now let me get. You said Ajegule Primary School.
Ajegule Primary School or Joe.
Okay.
You can just do this one for us. We'll be so grateful. Our children have lost children that are, as a result of accident because they were going to a far distance. So many like that, but this particular one, if you could just do it for us, we'll be grateful.
What happened to the school? The school is
the school is a Millennium Development Goal project. Sometimes so many years back, and they carry the children now to another school so that they can rebuild it for them.
Okay.
The school that they have presently now is jam-packed. You need to come to Ajeromi Selodu,
Okay.
which is between the Selodu and Ajeromi.
All right. We've taken note of that. Right.
Yeah, all right, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Lekon from Mushi. You know that area he's talking about, sir?
Yeah, I know that area.
Okay. So you've taken note of it, or you want to give him a response?
No, I'm taking note of that. The LMBG projects, that's an LMBG project. These are some of the projects that were probably abandoned by the last administration, and I don't know why the visionaries of Lagos State, from the great father,
Right.
Tinubu, Fashola, they knew why they had scripts. So, but last regime it was actually cancelled, scrapped.
Okay.
But now what we are doing now is that those schools, the LMBG projects are actually going on.
Okay.
I know that about some of them have been reawarded. It was abandoned most of last regime, so it's been reawarded now, and I'm sure that some of those schools are going to be completed very, very soon.
All right.
I'm sure before the end of the year, some of the LMBG schools, there are more than a couple of about 6 of them. And I'm sure, I know very well that about 3 are currently being done, and I can assure you that before the end of the year, early next year, it will be, because the government of Babangida wants to ensure that all of those schools are completed.
Okay. That sounds pretty good, and I hope that will put some smiles on the faces of Lekon and others within that particular corridor. All right, you can still join the conversation. 0809 912 0777. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. All right, we lost that call. Let's see if we can reconnect using the same number. You can also express yourself on our social media as well. But talk to me, 08099120777. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Mr. Smith has done so well.
What's your name, sir?
This is Major.
Okay, Major from Ogba, right?
Yes, please. Can you just give me 2 schools within 5-kilometer radius of Alausa that is accessible to children with disability? When I mean children with disability, the blind, the physically challenged, the deaf. As in, when they were constructing or reconstructing those schools, that a child on wheelchair, a child on crutches, a blind student can easily access those schools without going more than 5 kilometers from his or her house. Just 2 schools. I need just 2 names of 2 schools that is accessible to a child with disability. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so he's asking a question of, are you guys thinking of integrating persons living with disability when you do your blocks and when you do this construction or rehabilitation of these schools?
Yeah, thank you very much. We are definitely having that in our plans, apparently. But if we have to be sincere with ourselves, some of those schools, we are not kitted with those facilities. We all know that.
Okay.
But this regime is actually thinking of that. And you know, what has happened now is that very, very soon, the new designs that we are doing is incorporating such opportunities. But for the existing schools, it's difficult because, you know, once you don't plan those access into your plans from design, it becomes difficult. For instance, somebody that's on wheelchair, you need ramps. Most of our schools are not
they're not fitted with that. So the new ones that you guys are doing now, you're thinking of putting that?
Definitely, we're thinking of that. So but what's happening now is, which we must appreciate, and we have to be truthful with ourselves. I mean, it is a good government, a government that listens. We are not here to just make noise or make mouth about what we are doing. But essentially, what we are doing now is, first and foremost, we need to clean out the schools. We need to clean out the schools. That's the first phase we are trying to do.
Right.
Whilst cleaning out, we are also incorporating new classroom blocks because we want to, as much as possible, balance the student classroom ratio. Then later, we are thinking of all other facilities that we expect and hope that should be in schools. So this thing that you have said is well noted. We are even considering, because the strategy we have is to do immediate, mid-term and long-term objectives for the agency. So these are certainly in our mid-term objectives.
All right.
Whilst hoping that we will hope and pray that the students that have these disabilities since they've had a way of getting to some of these schools, we will definitely encourage them and assist them in whatever way that's possible.
All right, then. Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. A brief break. We'll be back to round things off. Then, so even though Lagos Ibadan Expressway is busy, but I hear it's getting much better now inwards Lagos for those of you within that particular corridor. All right, so is SCRPS working independently, or do you guys collaborate with other agencies?
Certainly, in government, you can't work in isolation.
Okay.
Because there's always need for you to interface with several agencies. I mean, I told you earlier that we are a member of the education family. We have a commissioner, which we work closely with. I mean, we do most of the things that we are doing. I mean, even though we get approval from Mr. Governor, we make sure we are in sync with them to ensure that whatever we do, we are together.
Right.
However, you have to also interface with Ministry of Science and Tech. I told you, we are planning to do a modularized kind of school with interactive screens, which is a new one. It's a legacy project which we had to go to, which we are actually doing at Agege.
Okay.
Now, those such schools, we had to get a sign off from Ministry of Science and Technology, because the schools will be such that it will be kitted with interactive screens and tablets for students. It's going to be the first in Lagos State.
Interactive screens?
Yes.
How does it work?
No, it's what is used now. So
the board will be interactive.
You can now, then there will be tablets that students will be using, which is one of the things that this Governor Baguio Sanwo-Olu has approved.
Right.
That will be done, and we're hoping to have one of those in all the districts for a start.
Which is very,
the
very
first
good.
one is going on at Vetland School now, so very, very soon. It's a sign-off that has delayed it, but the sign-off is, we have to get sign-offs from works, we have to get sign-off from the Ministry of Science and Tech, which we've gotten.
All right, let me see if we can still sneak in one call before we wrap up things on the program this morning. 0809-912-0777. Numbers to call. Hello there, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
All right, good morning. What's your name?
I'm Ola calling from Badagry.
Ola from Badagry. Go ahead.
I just want to commend that particular agency. Since last year, they've been visiting Badagry, and we thought it was just the usual thing that they do. Come there, just see. But we are happy now that there has been a lot of tremendous activities of that agency in Badagry.
Okay.
That is and even in the period that we thought that nothing like that would happen to.
Right.
We thank them and ask them to continue to do more. But that is life, so they should continue to come there to assist us and ensure that our people are compatible with what they have in other parts of Lagos.
Wonderful. All right then, Ola, thank you so much. You are a testimony. You've seen what they're doing within the Badagry corridor. Thank you for your contribution. All right, so let's begin to wrap this up. What are the challenges facing this committee as you guys go about this assignment?
Yeah, okay. We couple, just a few, because like I told you, it's an initiative of the government, of the current governor, so he's supporting us. I must confess and commend his effort, because we hardly go to him for any support that he wouldn't grant us.
Okay.
So we have that 100% support from the Mr. Governor, and once you have support from Mr. Governor, everybody will align. So the only little challenge we have is the process, but the process is essential, because you need to make sure that you pick the right person to do the work.
All right.
Because Lagos State ensures that it follows international best practice with procurement. And once you have, if you don't abide by the process, is an infraction. So you ensure, even despite the opportunities and despite the fact that Mr. Government is supporting us, it will never allow you to commit any infractions or violence. So we ensure we follow the processes.
Okay.
So once the processes are followed, and we engage the contractor, we do the technical evaluation, and once we pick, we follow up with the contractor. And again, one other thing I did not mention earlier when I was talking about ensuring that the contractors comply to standards, is that every project we do, particularly when you're talking about doing new build, we ensure that we do a soil test. Because the series of collapse that is going on now, we ensure that we keep our projects in such a way that the soil is tested to ensure that we are giving the building the right type of foundation. Because one of the problems that could happen to a building is when you are committing a building on the wrong footing. So before we move on, we do a soil test on all our projects. So because we had instances whereby we thought we were going to do it with raft or pad, we have to do raft. And the Mr. Governor has graciously supported us. Okay. So I must commend him. So in terms of challenges, very, very few. I think it's just human challenges whereby we ourselves moving things up and down, which we are getting over, and I'm sure we're going to we get over every
all right,
challenge.
Let's begin to wrap this up. I must say a very big thank you for making it through to the studio this morning. All right then, so even as we gradually wind things to an end, I know there are some schools that you must have done some levels of intervention. You want to just mention a few of them?
Okay, well, thank you very much. I've been expecting that will happen, apparently, but because of the commendation we got from Badagry, I will just reel out some of the things we are doing in Badagry. Because right now in Badagry, we are building a new classroom block. We are building 2 hostel blocks in Badagry for schools. The hostel is going to be housing about 200 students. Badagry Grammar School. We're also doing some security improvement projects where we have towers and lightings in the compound. In Badagry, we are also trying to do some schools that had no fences. We are talking about Betrome. It's a school in Badagry. The fence is quite large. It's a huge site. We have all of these cattle areas going in, all people taking firewall vehicles. So we are building the fence. The governor has approved that. We are also going to a school called Togli in Badagry. We are building up their fences. So that's in Badagry. However, I can tell you, like I told you, all the local governments will do something. I have Igondo Junior Grammar Schools. We are building a 12th classroom there. Lagos Baptist Secondary School, Agige. We are building another 12th classroom. Ijai Housing School, Ijai Housing Estate Junior Secondary School. Ijai, we are building 12th classroom. Ojota, just across there, 18 classroom.
Well, because of time, really.
So we have a lot.
Yes.
It's what we are doing. So let me just say quickly that in terms of school rehabilitation, we have a total of about 60 primary schools we are working on, 61 actually. And it's all spread around the whole 6 education district. Some have moved, some are just starting. So in the next 1 month, you'll see a lot of rehabilitation going just around you. Same for primary and secondary school. We have about 31 going on around the whole district. And we have some interventions because apparently when it rained a couple of months back, some schools have been damaged, roof damage, fence collapsed. So we are working on about 50 of those. So we have a lot of projects that we are working on.
All right. We're still going to have you back in the studios, and then you can talk more on some of those works that you've done extensively. But time not really our friend this morning. I want to say a very big thank you to you. Thank you so much for making it to the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So I've been speaking with Hakeem Smith. Of course, he's the chairman, Special Committee on Rehabilitation of Public Schools in Lagos. And our focus this morning has been on revival of public school infrastructure in Lagos State.